Instagram teen accounts have automatic protections for what teens see and who can contact them, plus time management tools. And Instagram will continue adding built-in safety features to help create age-appropriate experiences. Learn more about teen accounts and Instagram's ongoing work to protect teens online at instagram.com/teen accounts.
Every sip of Coca-Cola brings you closer to the excitement of the FIFA World Cup 26. Because nothing compares to the joy. So grab a Coke and drink in the FIFA World Cup 26. No purchase necessary. 13 plus in 50 U.S. states and D.C. with a web-enabled device. Ends March 1st with 8 entry periods. Rules at cokeurl.com/soccer rules.
Welcome along to Muchie and Deno. We are here at WCR-FM. Big thanks to Steve and Sue who've helped facilitate today's recording. Robbie and Andy are still alongside Neil Masters, who's very kindly joined us. And in the last episode, you heard his incredible story, really, of what he's had to deal with, both as a footballer and in his private life since then, and how he's having to deal with the ongoing issues that affect anyone in terms of their own mental health, but certainly for someone like Neil who's gone through career-ending injuries, we can only imagine what they've been like. But Neil, to pick up from where we left off in the last episode, you say you want to share your story, which you've done so bravely. But in terms of looking to the future, what do you feel needs to be done, and in terms of your own voice, getting it out there and the help that you'd like to offer people going forward?
I think this is a massive step for me, just doing the podcast. So I'm very grateful to you guys for having me on today. I think I've done a podcast last week in Northern Ireland, which was a huge step for me as well, because I think I have a voice that I've never been able to talk. I've never had the, I don't know, I wouldn't say the courage. I was just in a mentally bad place to talk about it, to be honest, and it's been a long time. So I think for myself now, by doing, obviously, I've done the podcast back in Northern Ireland. I think that was a breakthrough for me. I think I clicked the code there a little bit. And then obviously when I came here and Robbie asked me, and then obviously I've met Muchie and yourself, Johnny, would you like to do the podcast? I didn't really hesitate, and that's a big step for me, because I've always hesitated in the past. You always find excuses. You always like 10 excuses of why not to do it, instead of just doing it. I'm trying to get like a mental aspect in life now where I start with a no. What's the worst you can get is a no. So you're not losing anything, but get yourself out there now. Start talking, start giving something. I want to give something back, Johnny. I really do. I've been thinking about it for years. Have I acted on it? Not too much. This is the first time. What I would love to do, I would love to, whether it's through the PFA, IFA, or going to schools, clubs, whatever, and just basically giving the kids an insight of the ups and downs and what can happen, whether it's to do with alcohol, whether it's to do with mental health, all the tough stages that I've had to go through, the education bit as well. And for these young footballers, that, because I think it's 0.001 that actually make it to be a professional football player. It's like, get the maximum out of your potential. Don't be. It's like, speak to coaches. I had verbal abuse basically when I started playing, but we were used to it. That was the way it was. We just embraced it and get on with it. Do you know what I mean? So for me now, I think I'm hoping that I can continue, keep pushing now the way I'm going. And then obviously work, whether it's with the PFA, whether it's for the districts, the councils, back in the UK again. I'm going to do a little bit in Norway, but the possibilities are there. I'd love to come back again and give something back. I would love to give something back to Wolves. I would love to give something back to other clubs as well.
It's certainly fascinating to hear you talk like this, and you've absolutely got a story to tell, a lived-in experience. And Robbie, you touched on it in the last episode as well. You know, Neil's obviously had to deal with life-changing injuries. You talked about the fact of the mental health issues when you come out of the game and how you're not prepared for a life away from football. How much of a struggle was that for you?
It was tough, Johnny. It really was. Because, as I said, you are going into training one day and then the next day you're not. That's it. Fine line, you just bang, that's it, finished. So the fact that you've done something for, well, I came across to England when I was 22. So full time I was from 22 to 36, 14, 15 years. So you've done something on a regular basis. You're going in and having the crack with the lads every day. And for me, that's the biggest thing, really. It's not so much the playing side. The playing side's in the issue. This is where you're aiming for at the end of the week type scenario with the games. But it's the crack with the lads, you know, and having that banter every day. You go in and then all of a sudden that stops. right? And whenever we met up at the game, the Newcastle game with a few of the lads, you're back having the same banter again, and that's the way it was on a daily basis. So for that to stop, just bang, that's it, stopped, and you're at home staring at the walls and thinking, what am I going to do now? Because I didn't really prepare for coming out of the game. I didn't have a job to go to, or did get educated to become an accountant, or I didn't take my coaching badges or anything like that. So I basically was sitting thinking, what am I doing now? So, and it does really knock you back on the mental side of things. You tend to, because you come away from the football, you don't keep in contact with the lads, that you've actually come away from, even though you've been with them maybe for 10 years, whatever it is. You don't have a daily contact with them, because Muchie went up to Southport, he went up there, so you tend to go back to where you're from and all that scenario. Yeah. So you don't keep that contact with people, do you? So that's a difficult side as well, and you feel, as Neil said, you're on your own. You have to deal with this and get on with it, and relationships are tough and all that sort of stuff because of what you're going through. So I think most of the lads will probably tell you a similar thing, Johnny, unless they've gone into maybe the coaching side of things straight away, or the managing side of things straight away. Then they've had it. I'm sure that most of them will have a story to tell with regards to what am I going to do next.
Well, that's it, Robbie. A lot of players, what they want to do is stay in the game. They want to be a manager, a coach. That's the first option. And if that doesn't work, all of a sudden it becomes a bit of a problem for them. They say, well, what am I actually going to do now? And what you get is, like, human beings are social, aren't they? So we're all like to integrate and have the crack together and whatever we do. And it's just, how can I put it? You lose that integration, and then what happens is then you think, well, if I'm not in football where you think that's where you want to be, what am I going to do next? And there's tons of players, right, that all have the same. There's not many Gary Linekers and Alan Hansons who get great jobs and are on the telly and they're very good at what they do. And we look back at managers now, and you think of all the managers that you've known all over the years, and if you could name 10 managers on your left hand now and your right hand, going, well, where's he now and where's he now and where's he now? So you all have to find a path somewhere else doing something, and it's certainly not easy.
But you can't replace the football much, can you?
No.
Because you know, it's not a job. It wasn't a job, was it? It was good crack. And yes, there's certain pressures involved in it with regards to playing in front of 20,000 people, 30,000 people, and trying to please them on a weekly basis and trying to get wins. That's the pressure of it, really, isn't it? Yeah. But it's not a real job, is it? You know, and you come away from that, bang, finish. What am I doing now? So you cannot replace that, and that's for me is a difficult thing.
I think a little bit for myself as well. When I went to Norway, and obviously I knew my career was finished. I got another major injury and stuff, so I thought I'll give the coaching a crack. So obviously I couldn't speak Norwegian at the time, but all the boys over there, they loved it that I spoke English. They thought I was a nutcase, like really professional and stuff. And I must admit, the odd fuck word was coming in there as well, mate. It's normal. But I was kind of an angry person in the first couple of years, but then you kind of get adjusted to it. That was a different side of the game. I wasn't like a player, but I felt part of it again. I felt I had a family. I felt I had all my sons. 25 sons, and it was magnificent. I loved it. It gave me a breath of fresh air, mate. To be honest, I was still in the game. And then, unfortunately, it was about 4 years ago. I had a girlfriend at the time, and she passed away. So my mum passed away, my dad passed away, my girlfriend passed away, but I was on my own. I didn't have anybody to talk to. So then I had another coaching job, and I was doing some scouting for Bournemouth and stuff at the same time. And but I had a coaching job at a team called Sprint. And COVID time, and obviously in COVID time you had to have like separate groups. You weren't allowed. You only two could play. They got to be 5 meters apart and stuff like that there. And at that time, Johnny, I've got a lot of conditions in my body where I'm in the risk group for people. So it's very risky for me to actually be around people at that moment in time, because if I get COVID, it can be quite dangerous for me, like it was for a lot of people. So basically, I think we had 158 training sessions, and I was at 153 through COVID. So I think I showed the right attitude about being there and stuff. And then the following year, we got promotion. We didn't lose a game the whole season. And then it was one of the best feelings. I felt part of something. And then after the season, I didn't hear anything. And then it got in Norway. The season's from basically April until November. So you have a bit of a long pre-season. So the boys were off, and then we're back in. We start signing players up again, and then we're back in training properly in January. January came, and I'm like, I've sent a few messages, like, new contract, what's happening, what's going on and stuff. because my contract was out, and if I'm going to find another club, other clubs are already hiring people and stuff. But I never thought we just won the league. We're unbeaten. I think we didn't lose. I think it was 19 games in a row we won, so it was fantastic. Then I got a text message saying, "No, we're not keeping you," and that completely just knocked it out of me. I felt unworthy. I felt useless to everybody. And then I just went on a really, really bad after COVID as well, because in COVID you couldn't see people
It was
you
a tough
loved.
time anyway, wasn't it? in COVID?
For goodness sake. And don't get me wrong, a lot of people, it was heartbreaking to see what went on in COVID, especially for mental health. But seeing your parents or seeing family and stuff like that there, do you know what I mean? It was hard for a lot of people. So I didn't feel sorry for myself. I just tried to get on with it. But it eventually caught up with me a bit, Johnny. And then after that there, when the coaching thing is like, I just hit about 40 brick walls, and that was it. And then just locked myself in a bubble.
Yeah, brilliant that you're able to talk about it now, and hopefully you'll get something out of it by doing so. And it's certainly, we're getting a lot from that listening to it. Dano, Neil touched on it there, and I imagine for both you and Muchie, something was perhaps similar to the feelings that Neil went through. Neil talks about the fact that he was offering something as a coach, a successful coach, and when he was relieved of his duties, he felt worthless and what have you. Muchie and Dano, both of you were sort of adored by supporters on the terraces, hugely, hugely popular players. When you retire and when that all stops, was that something you perhaps hadn't prepared for? Does your validation disappear to some degree, and you feel, I've not got this? You know, the supporters validate you. The supporters give you your value and your worth to some degree, even though you've got so much to offer as people aside from that. When that disappears, do you find yourself a bit at a loss as well?
Yeah. To be quite truthful, yeah. I think, Johnny, on the playing side, you know it was coming to an end. Right, you're not stupid. I played at 36, which was great. You know, I was probably still fit enough to keep going, but my head went before my legs. You know what I mean? That was kind of the scenario then. So the playing side of things, you can actually see coming, and you know this is probably going to be my last season. I'm going to have to think about what I'm going on. But it's taking the next step to what you do really, and what am I going to do? And it's your head's just muddled with everything, because you're not really qualified to do anything. You know, with regards to solicitor, accountant, or whatever you're thinking about doing. So, and as I said, I didn't take my coaching badges, so I wasn't staying in the game. So yeah, you know, stop finishing, but the fact of what am I going to do next is the biggest issue, and I'm still looking for it. You know.
Yeah, it's. I basically was lucky in the respect that when I finished playing at 34/35, I went straight into management. I was assistant manager at Telford United, assistant manager at Morecambe for 4 years. I was chief scout at Doncaster Rovers. So I had quite a long spell. And I was saying to Neil last night, and he was laughing and says, my last game as a manager, I was actually managing Stafford Rangers in non-league. And on that day, I was 50 years of age, 28th of December, and I was meeting my wife in Manchester to go out for a meal for my 50th. I give the team a great team talk. I thought, we'll be on it today. Anyway, we lost 5-0. And I thought, well, that's
Did you
it.
take that team talk?
So,
I want to hear that one.
You should have heard the team talk. It was brilliant, honestly. So I sacked myself on the Saturday, right? So I'm not putting up with this again. So that was when I was 50. So then in my head then I'm thinking, because working in football, it's the inconsistency. Unless you're at the very top echelons where you get sacked and you're being paid millions and millions of pounds, there's no consistency whatsoever. And the best thing I ever did was stop working in football when I was 50. Best thing I ever did. I taxi drive for a while, quite a number of years, because it gave me the flexibility to do what I wanted. And I really enjoyed that. But at the back end of it, I was getting fed up with it. So I moved from that and I started laying floors, because I started helping some guy and he taught me how to do it. And I'm doing it to this day. And I love it. I just work for myself. I do a week here, 10 days here, then I'll have a couple of days off. I can be able to come down to see the lads when I need to and all that. So I'm flexible that way. So I enjoyed it. But I was lucky that I sort of got to virtually 50 before I did a day's work, you know what I mean?
Much I'm the same mate now.
So, but it was, But it is tough, isn't it? Because unless you plan, you have to take your hat off to Tom or Andy Thompson, because he went and got an education when he finished. He got himself a degree and became a teacher. So he flicks between teaching, which he'll be nearly finishing now, I imagine. He'd probably retiring from that, and doing his work at Wolves on the media and all that. But he took a good step and did it. And we all thought, well, we could do this or that, but you just don't do it for whatever reason. I didn't do it because I thought I was going to stay in football and be in the game. I thought I was quite bright enough, etc., etc. But it's not so much how good you are in football. You need people around you that are reliable. You need the trust of people that tell you what they're promising you that happens. And oh God, it's a minefield.
I started an accountancy course, and the actual fact that you had to start writing again was the strangest thing ever, right? Because all you've done the whole time in playing football, sign your name.
Yeah, you say
seriously. You sign your name and off you go. Best wishes.
Robert,
there you go.
I was going to train as an accountant, and I realised that I had to add numbers up.
But you had to do projects and stuff like that, so obviously you have to write the project and all that. And I'm learning how to write again. Seriously, it was crazy. Like, I hadn't done that for 20 years. So, but I did that for a couple of years, and it was really trying to get your head around it to finish stuff off. I wanted to do something, but then you get halfway down with the accountancy, and I'm thinking, I don't really want to do that.
I'm not sure if I want that. Yeah,
I'm not really sure if that's what I want to do. So you move on to something else, and so it is what it is, isn't it? Really, with regards to what I do next, and I'm sure there's loads of people have had the same scenarios that we've had.
Well, that's it.
I think one of the biggest problems as well is finishing what you started. I think when you're in, and I'm not as scared to say it. I think it's when you're in a depression, you think I'm going to do a lot of things. You start doing things, but it's hard to accomplish. Yeah. It's hard to just get up and do that final push to do it. That's one of the most horrible things about depression. In my case, I've talked to good games sometimes. I've said to my boys, I've said to whoever, and I feel not so much embarrassed, but just sad, basically, that I haven't been able to follow through and things. But it's just this little killer of depression that does it to you. It kind of stops you from taking that next step. Do you know what I mean? So hopefully by doing the podcast with you three legends, it's like it's absolutely fantastic for me.
No, but you have to keep that going as well, Neil, don't you? Well, we all do, don't we? With regards to talking to people and keeping the chat going.
I think that's really important, and I don't think you can underestimate taking little steps, little by little. Dean Windass is someone I've got to know in the sort of the after dinner circuit and on corporate golf days with ex-players, and he's gone through all sorts of troubles in his life. He's now got the early onset of dementia as well, so he's having to deal with that. But he's certainly gone through incredible low moments, suicidal moments, and he uses a phrase all the time whenever I bump into him. He's a bubbly character, and people take him in different ways. He always says, when you see him, how are you? He says, well, I made my bed this morning. And the point he's trying to make is that he got out of bed, made his bed so he could, that's another lived day. I found that quite profound, and, probably more profound than he does in a way, because he just, uses that, not glibly, but he uses that phrase as, that's how I am. I made my bed today. So that means that day has been a success because he's got out of bed and done something. When depression sets in and when mental health issues set in, surely that's all you can do is just take a step.
It's trying to take positive steps, isn't it? Taking the support around you as well, and talking to the people that actually support you, because you can talk to a lot of people, and are they really interested in what you have to say? Probably not. You know what I mean? But so you have to have your own little circle, which you can get in touch with people, have a chat with people, and they understand a little bit what you're going through and help you through the different bits. And as I say, everybody has to do it, not just Nelly, you know what I mean? Everybody has to do it in life, really. So just keep it going, mate.
I think for myself as well, I think Mochi, Dano, I think you, Johnny, as well, mate. I don't think you actually realise how much you've helped me in the last few days. It means the world to me. Means the world to me to actually speak to the Wolves fans as well. Never really got to say thank you for their support, which they always did. I'm remembered for hitting the crossbar and the snow falling off. That's about it. But that's a good one. That's a good one to be finished on. But I just want to say it was a privilege, obviously, to wear the shirt. I loved it every second of it. I miss it every single day. But nobody can take it away from me. I think with meeting Mochi, Dano, and obviously yourself, Johnny, and you are doing the podcast, I think it's brilliant. I think it's a humane side of what you are trying to achieve and do, and hopefully the podcast is going to grow and grow, because this is wonderful for Wolverhampton, but not just for Wolverhampton. This is going to spread. There's going to be a lot of interesting people, because you are two working class, brilliant guys. And
good looking.
good looking. You look like Richard Gere, mate. Muchie, you're just an absolute legend. I met Muchie for the first time yesterday, and I swear I think I've got the
You'll
nose
not forget it, will you?
No, I'm never forgetting that. He was singing songs.
When
Andy was giving me abuse, to be fair, so I tell you what, I'm not going to do all this podcast on a negativity. I'm going to bring some light to it as well. And to be fair, Senior Andy Much, when I arrived at Wolves, I used to look in the history of it when I joined the club and stuff, and obviously with Robbie being here from Northern Ireland, and then it was Bully and stuff, but it was Bully and Muchie. It was that's what I joined with, and I've played with a lot of cracking strikers. Don Goodman, you've got David Kelly, Ned, absolute brilliant blokes who I've got to meet in the last few days, which has been absolutely amazing. But when I look back at the videos and when I look back and stuff, it's Bully and Muchie. It's Bully and Muchie, two legends. They scored goals for fun. They were absolute horrible to play against. And Robbie was a decent winger. But thanks, Nate. Well, no problem, mate.
One of the reasons this podcast is being recorded on a Monday morning instead of a Sunday straight after the game is probably everyone enjoyed a bit too much hospitality last night. And there was a stage when we were in the Lichgate pub, Neil, and Muchie had the guitar out, and I thought, God, are we ever going to get this podcast recorded? But you touched on it then. The amount of joy that fans still get from bumping into Robbie and Andy out and about in Wolverhampton. And then when we introduced you to a few fans, and the first thing they said, oh, I remember when you hit the crossbar. It's great. I mean, that must be great. 30 years on, there's fans who can immediately place you and immediately place a moment in your career.
I think it's obviously when I get back, I didn't get to play enough for the supporters. I didn't get to show enough. But I thought that when I did wear the jersey, I'd give 100%. I think a lot of the fans, they talk about the crossbar incident when the snow came off. Everybody I speak to, whether it's in Norway, Sweden, Denmark, back in Northern Ireland and stuff. And that's a great memory for me because I was against the Blues. We beat them 3-0. Kevin Keane scored the goal. I think he should never be allowed to have that goal because it just smashed his kneecap and went in because it hit the ball that hard off the bar, and he was celebrating like he just won the FA Cup, for goodness sake. But I think for myself as well, it's played with some amazing players as well. I really did. That side that we had that year and the players that came in afterwards were also very special. But that group of players that we had, if we had everybody fit, I think we would have had a right go. And we got to the playoff finals and stuff, which was devastating, that we should have won. But for me as well, it's like the last few days I've got to know Muchie a little bit better. He's a cracking guy. He's got a great sense of humour, but he's also a human being as well. And he's told me a few stories that have helped me, that have hit home with me as well. I had a good chat with Robbie. I've probably depressed Robbie in the last couple of days with about 3 hours of chat and stuff about a bit about my problems. But I feel a little bit more open, and I want to tackle these and try and get better.
Well, hopefully, Neil, we'll see a lot more of you in the coming months and years, and certainly have you back at Molineux. Don't leave it 30 years next time, whatever you do. But thanks so much for joining us over these last few episodes. We really, really appreciate it. A big thanks to WCR FM, Steve and Sue, who've helped facilitate the recording of these podcasts. The last word for Muchie and Deno?
Well, I'd just like to thank Neil as well. You know what I mean? We've had a lot of chats, and what he needs to do now is go away and realise that he's got people that care about him over here, and we'll always be at the end of the phone for him. And Muchie, you're the same. You can pick up the phone anytime and
that's it. That's it. Small steps, but keep moving them steps. Don't stand still, because what you're trying to achieve it's important for yourself and your family and everyone, and most importantly for yourself. Never mind anyone else. You want yourself feeling good about yourself, and you can do, because people do it, so you can certainly do it. And thanks very much for coming on, because it was very entertaining.
I'd just like to say a massive thank you, first of all, Johnny, for the invitation and for your professionalism, and obviously for letting me speak a few words today. Thanks, Robbie. Obviously it's been emotional. It's been an emotional few days, but I appreciate it so much. Everybody at the club, fans that I've met, but obviously you guys for having me on today. I really appreciate it, and look forward to seeing you soon.
You will do, mate. You will do.